Hi, welcome back. Hope you're well. Today I'm here to do the very exclusive and unique August monthly wrap-up, and this month was meh. Honestly, it was almost entirely exclusively 3 stars, so not the best month, not the worst month, kind of just in the middle. We did start off very well because the first book that I finished on the 10th of August, and that was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And I did actually end up giving this one 5 stars. It's a new favorite. I'm obsessed. As soon as I finished it, I went and bought his book Under the Whispering Door, and I absolutely can't wait to pick that one up. It was really such a fantastic book. So what the story is about is it's about this caseworker that works for the Department of Magical Youth, and he basically gets sent to this orphanage to go make sure that everything is safe and healthy and happy and that the children are okay. But this is a special house compared to others where there are stronger magical beings. For example, one of the children is a 6-year-old little boy who is the Antichrist. His father is Lucifer. So very interesting. It's actually so heartwarming. Like, the found family vibes are immaculate, and it truly is just such a beautifully, wonderfully written story about this kind of lonely guy finding his place. So it's very sweet. I 10 out of 10 would recommend, and I will be thinking about this book for the rest of my life. I am obsessed. The next book that I finished on the 14th of August, and that would be Eclipse. I ended up giving this one 2 stars because the vampires just really annoyed me in this book, to be honest with you. But basically what it's about is that Victoria, the mate of James, who was the villain in the first book, is hunting Bella to kill her in revenge for Edward killing James. And it's basically that conflict and about how the vampires and the werewolves are going to save her, and she doesn't die. But yeah, overall it was fine. It's definitely not my favorite book in the series. I don't really think was my favorite movie, but it is what it is. The next book that I picked up was actually The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, and I finished that on the 14th of August as well. This was actually very exciting because if you've been here for a while and you've seen my other monthly wrap-ups, you do know that I DNF'd this book originally because there were spooky elements to it that just creeped me out too much. But I kind of regret DNFing that book. I did enjoy it, it just creeped me out too much. So when I saw that the audiobook was available at my library, I picked it up and I kind of just skipped over any parts that creeped me out. But ironically enough, where I DNF'd it, the creepy parts stopped. So if I just kept going, wouldn't have DNF'd it, but it's fine. I ended up rating this 3 stars. It was interesting, it was good. I was very happy that I finished it. In terms of the actual plot twists, I didn't necessarily guess them, but they also weren't overtly shocking as well. So that's why it's kind of in the middle. And basically what this book is about is this woman gets picked to go on a writing retreat that is held by her favorite author in the entire world, and her and I believe 4 other women have been picked based on their writing samples that they sent in. But then as she stays there, weird things start happening, someone goes missing, and her favorite author who is hosting this is just very eclectic and kind of weird, and she's like kind of just dealing with all of that. It's not the best synopsis, but obviously I can't give away too much, but that is also basically what's written on the back of the book. So not my favorite, but I would recommend. The next book that I read and finished is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham, and I finished that on the 21st of August. Overall, I gave this a 3.5. It was very mid for me. Obviously, mystery thrillers and murder mysteries are not fun, lighthearted books to read about ever, but usually in like the guest list or most Frida books that I've read, they were still very fun because you're just so wrapped up in trying to solve the mystery. Or in Frida specifically, the characters are kind of quirky and her plot twists are just so insane that it feels very fictional. And even though it's dark masher, it's very fun to read. Whereas A Flicker in the Dark felt very dark. Like, I finished it and I felt like a weight on my chest, as if I just watched a true crime documentary, or as if I just like listened to a true crime podcast. It was not a happy feeling coming out of the book, which normally I don't get happy feelings coming out of mystery thriller books, but I definitely don't feel upset either, if that makes sense. And also, the other reason why I wasn't the fondest of it was because she has a lot of trauma that she's dealing with, the main character, and the book is written in such a way that she struggles to separate reality from, like, not hallucinations, but like her mind reminding her of certain traumas, like, if that makes sense. So she struggles to tell reality from imaginary, and it's written in such a way that it kind of tricks the reader too. So you're reading and you're like, oh, and then you realize, like, oh, this is a flashback. There's no clear, like, definitive line between past and present. You kind of just like figure it out as you read it, which in terms of the goals of that, and then in terms of the actual writing style itself, very smart, very well done, definitely does confuse you. So I'm not saying that it was bad, but for me it just wasn't to my taste. I don't enjoy being confused in books. I don't mind being misled, I don't mind not knowing the plot twist, but being confused and not understanding what's happening for half of the book and having to like piece it together through context clues, I'm not the most fond of, which is why I personally didn't like it. The actual style of her trying to confuse you because she's trying to emulate the trauma the main character is going through, very well done. I just wasn't a fan of it. And then, if you've never heard of this book, basically what it's about is this girl's father is a serial killer. He killed a bunch of teenage girls, and basically 20 years later the same thing starts happening, and she wants and needs to solve it, and she gets wrapped up in that world again, and we basically follow her along, learning about her past and what her dad did, and then learning about the current situation and how she's dealing with it, how she's wrapped up in it, yada yada yada. It's a very interesting book, just for me a bit too confusing and boring and heavy. So that's kind of where I'm at, but definitely would also still recommend. The next book that I also finished on the 21st of August, and I call it the Very Secret Witches book, but that is the actual title of it. I ended up giving this a 3.75. I read this to get cute, awesome / winter witchy vibes. I love reading contemporary witch romance books such as this one because it gives me a very specific vibe every single time, no matter who it's by, what it's about. It gives me the same vibe, and I crave that vibe from like August through March-ish. So it was good, it was cute, gave me what I wanted. Basically what this book is about is there is this society of witches that only come together like once every 3 months, I think it was, because they can't be together because their magic will surge and they need to stay secret. But then someone gets in contact with her and she finds out that there's 3 child witches and they want someone to teach the child witches how to use their magic. And 1, she's just confused about how this is allowed, and then 2, she obviously goes and fulfills them, and it's basically a kind of found family story of her and these kids and the caretakers of those kids. Had to move, sorry. But yes, it is very cute and lovely, and I very much enjoyed it, and it gave me what I wanted, and I would recommend it. The final book that I finished so far, I finished on the 25th of August, and that would be People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Ended up giving this 3.5. It was a reread. I go more into it in a reading vlog that will be coming in like the next month or 2, but it was good, enjoyed it. I'm happy I reread it. And then essentially what this book is about is that the main girl Poppy and her best friend Alex met in uni, and they go on summer trips together, either locally or internationally. But then at one of their trips everything fell apart, so then they take another one 2 years later to try and reconcile their friendship. And it's dual timeline, so we get the past timelines of how their friendship built up over the summer trips, and then also what happened in that one trip to make the friendship fall apart. But then also the current trip is the entirety of the present timeline, and we're basically watching them reconcile their friendship. And also, again, Emily Henry book, so there is romance, or watching them kind of deal with those feelings of being in love with your best friend. Just quickly checking in because I did just finish Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer as well. So that was a 3 stars. It was fine. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about it because I'm pretty busy right now, but I just wanted to check in and let you know that I did also finish that. And if I do finish any other books, I'll add another extra little clip, but I don't think I will. So I think that's my August. Hopefully. We'll see. So I did DNF 2 books this month. The first book I'm not going to go into because that's a part of a reading challenge that I did and I don't want to spoil the reading challenge. So book 1 that I DNF'd on the 3rd of August, and I basically DNF'd it because I just wasn't feeling it, wasn't interested in it. I read about 65% of it and I just didn't hit for me. I will definitely go into more detail in that challenge video, so don't worry about that. And then the second book that I DNF'd was actually Legends and Lattes by Travis Barker, and I DNF'd that at 11% on the 11th of August. I did not get very far into it, but I was bored. I knew it was entirely about setting up a coffee shop essentially, and even the romance comes in later in the book. So I knew what I was going into, but I just didn't feel like reading that. I didn't feel like reading about a coffee shop being set up. It was very boring to me. I might pick up the audiobook and try it that way because I was reading it, but I wasn't in the mood for it, didn't tickle my fancy, and that's really just the end of that. So, but yes, that is the entirety of my reading month in August. Not a great month in terms of like actual reading quality. It was a very mid, unimpressive month, but you know, we all have days like that and months like that, so it just is what it is. August is one of those months for me that's just usually. So let me know if you read any of the same books I did. If you read The House on the Cerulean Sea, I would love to know your opinion on that because that is definitely a favorite. I have not gone a day without thinking about it since I stopped it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like me or my videos, I would really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.